I've been flipping pages since I could remember. That told me I had to be within the lines of 2 degrees and 9 to 5. And I've been working after work since last September. Working after work, yeah. I stay up late on the weekdays. I never tell when we say. I never wanna look back and wish I could have been. I'm never gonna regret the hours I've been putting in. So take a chance on faith. Your mind's a boundless place. So take a chance, take a chance, a chance on faith. So take a chance, take a chance on faith. So take a chance. I never wanna look back. Take a chance, take a chance on faith. Take a chance on faith. Something I never wanna say. I stand my ground. I need to be who I'm meant to be. Yeah, I don't see it any other way. I know I gotta keep the faith. I never wanna look back and wish I could have been. I'm never gonna regret the hours I've been putting in. So take a chance on faith. Your mind's a boundless place. So take a chance, take a chance, a chance on faith. So take a chance, take a chance on faith. So take a chance. I never wanna look back. Take a chance, take a chance on faith. So take a chance, take a chance on faith.
Breathe in the air, the light that surrounds me. If we hold ourselves together, we'll go far. Created a space, in my head it was empty. But I know that I want to be where you are. I was denied. I had spent those years, did not recognize the person that's inside. Never wanna hold you back. I wanna give you every chance to make it, to make it. I'm afraid if our love collides, you'll leave me alone tonight. 'Cause I'm changing and I'm breaking. Is this over? I'm scared to ask these questions 'cause I know that you'll reject my love, moving slower, frozen to these pieces without a shoulder to cry on. Never wanna hold you back. I wanna give you every chance, and I'll stand against all enemies, your enemies. I'm afraid if our love collides, you'll leave me alone tonight. 'Cause I'm changing and I'm breaking, but I'll still be your superhero. I'll be your superhero. But I'll still be your superhero. I'll be your superhero.
A few minutes ago, I made a massive mistake with my code, which completely messed up my prefab, one of my prefabs. So I'm reverting back everything back to the point before I made the mistake in the script. Now I get the long ass waiting time for all this stuff that needs to be loaded again.
I'm the storm that meets the moon. I'm the sun
There's nothing I can do right now other than waiting for the reload. So I might as well just talk. So the code that I was writing today was, I'm calling a prefab exporter. I'm not really exporting anything, but I didn't know what else to call it. So when I bought a Unity asset, there was a Unity asset that I bought, and I looked at it. I liked the graphics. It was 3D model. It was a 3D model, or it was a bunch of 3D models with a bunch of textures. But usually, and this is what I don't like about the Unity assets, it's pretty rare that they have it's pretty rare that they have all the files organized in a perfect in the perfect way that I want, because I'm always thinking about manageability in terms of code, not manageability in terms of creating and editing a 3D model and textures and all that stuff. So every time I download a model, I have to look at where the certain materials are, certain textures are. For example, if I want all the files regarding building A to be all in a folder, that almost never happens with an art asset. Usually I find that artists like to put all their materials into a folder, all their textures into a folder, and even worse, divide every single one of those files into a separate folder that is named after the asset. So now I have dozens and dozens and dozens of folders, hundreds in the end, if I wanted to look at a certain prefab. But I want all of the materials, all of the textures, all of the code, whatever that is related to the prefab. I want all of that residing in one folder. So if I want a prefab for building A, I want a folder called building A, and whatever script, material, texture, whatever the type is, I want it all inside that building A folder. And 99% of the time with an art asset, that is not the case. So today I want I was writing a little piece of code that automatically sorts that for me, that automatically sorts all of the files that I want regarding a prefab into one folder. That way I can separate, so that way I can download an entire art asset and separate one specific prefab that I want, and put all that into a folder, and I could just export that folder, and now I have a completely separate one little piece of art that has been separated from the entire project. So without that code, I would always have to sort through all of the files to just get one of the assets, or one model inside the entire asset, which is an entire project. And a lot of times I'm not just downloading an entire scene and putting that into my video game and calling it a day. I have to extract certain things that I don't want, certain things that I want, and leave out the things that I don't want. So that is a process today. So right now, because I made a massive mistake with my script, which ran in the editor mode and completely messed up my entire prefab. Now I'm stuck in the process of reloading everything. Benzitko, welcome. Yeah, I'm loading, which sucks. I'm reloading my entire project. A project that has a bunch of Unity assets, a bunch of code. Well, code doesn't take time to load, but all these textures and models, they do take a long. GDC artist says, what about Unity versions, which one you prefer? Usually I go for the latest versions that have what was it called? LTS, long time support. I forgot what it stands for, but when you go into the Unity Hub and click on Install Editor, yeah, there's something called the LTS versions. I would assume these are slightly older versions. LTS are not the latest versions, but something like one number below the latest version or something like that. The numbers themselves don't really mean anything, but I would assume that the LTS would have ironed out most of the major issues. Hold on, let me Google what Unity LTS actually means. Because that's just my assumption that when they call something a long-term support, I would think that version should be stable. I mean, that's the feeling that I get when I hear the words long-term support. Yeah, so it says Unity 2020 LTS provides a stable foundation for projects that are in production or about to ship. Okay, so assuming that Unity is right and correct, which may not be the case, but I'm just taking their word for it. So I would go for LTS stuff. Sometimes I go for the latest versions, but then recently I found I ran into a serious bug with the latest version. That was 20. Where are the things that I already installed? I mean, I don't like this new Unity Hub interface. I can't even find all the projects, all the Unity versions that I installed. Oh, it's right in front of me. Okay, so I've been using Unity 2021.2. Some of the gizmos simply disappeared when I was using that, which pissed me off. Sometimes you want to move certain assets. I don't want to manually input the numbers just because some arrow from the interface is gone. So I completely ditched Unity 2021. I'm back to Unity 2020 LTS. So, I hope that answered your question, GDC artist. There are a lot more variables that you didn't mention, things like HDRP, URP, or the built-in render pipeline. There's also different packages that you might use. There's also things related to the new Unity input system. Whether you use that or not, that also affects your packages, your UI, your event system. So there's a lot of variables here. But generally I would feel safe using an LTS version. Let me look slightly more into the documentation here. LTS releases. Okay, so for something like Unity 2019, it says it's now the legacy LTS. It will be updated monthly until it reaches the end of its support cycle in spring 2022. So something like this confuses me. When it says long-term support, Because when I see the word long term, I think more than 3 years, 3 or 4 years. And now they say for Unity 2019, it reaches the end of its support cycle in spring 2022. So why is it an LTS then? I mean these are just semantics, but you know, can't be perfect, I guess. So what do you call something that used to be LTS but has now reached the end of the support cycle in 2022? What do you call that? Like former LTS? So it looks like pretty much everything regarding Unity 2019 is an LTS. But what do you call Unity 2019 version that reached the end of its support cycle but still has some bugs to be fixed? I guess it's the support cycle just ended. Okay, let's look at long-term support. Just in general terms, not just Unity. Long-term support is a product lifecycle management policy in which a stable release of a computer software is maintained for a longer period of time than the standard edition. But according to according to the Unity manual, this directly goes against the general term long-term support. But I guess I don't really care. Short-term support is a term that distinguishes the support policy for the software's standard edition. STS software has a comparatively short life cycle and may be afforded new features that are omitted from the LTS edition to avoid potentially compromising the stability or compatibility of the LTS release. Again, these are just semantics. You probably want to look more into the details, but I hope that when Unity calls something LTS, I hope it is stable. So that's all I can say. And I'm still waiting on the load. It's been almost 20 minutes.
Burning bridges to the ground. So take away what's left of me. Blinded by the ones I lost, connecting lines of which we crossed, dropped off the scene that side, wishing to have one more fight left in me. The life I see, what's left in me.
So I've been streaming for almost 40 minutes now, or almost 50 minutes now, and I wrote a few lines of code. I'm reverting everything, and now I'm stuck on the loading screen. I want to talk about. There was a person who reached out on Facebook. He told me I don't even know if it's a he or she, but most likely he. But he was saying that I could. Well, he gave me an idea. He said, "Why don't you make a series of videos where I go from scratch, start from scratch, all the way to building a 2.5D platformer, for example. At least, and it'll be complete enough to be called a prototype, not necessarily entire game." But he was saying I could make a lot of money if I made a paid course for beginners to watch, and they'll be able to build an action platformer game. The quick answer is no. There was a time I tried to go from start to finish, but back then I knew nothing about YouTube videos. I knew nothing about recording. I also knew a lot less about game dev and programming in general. And because there were a lot of pieces of info that I was missing at the time, it was a very ambitious project, but it was also impossible in a way that you can't teach a complete beginner. You can't teach a complete beginner to being a professional game developer in one single course. That's just very unlikely to happen. You could have one course that teaches you the basics of programming, teaches you the basics of rendering, how a typical render pipeline works. I shouldn't say typical, but whatever API that you're using, you still need to understand that render pipeline. You also need to understand the pipeline regarding how art is produced. You also have to learn how to put it together with your code, how to make it work at over 200 frames per second. Something like that requires years to master, and not you don't necessarily have to master the art, the art of coding or the art of creating 3D art or 2D art. The reason why I always recommend C++ is because it usually helps if you understand anything slightly lower than what you see on Unity GUI and C#. And teaching someone how to code, or trying to learn code, or trying to teach yourself how to code usually takes years. It depends on what you want to do. If your goal is to build tic-tac-toe, that's going to take, depending on the language, a few days, 1 day or so. Maybe a few months for you to understand a little bit about memory. But if you're talking about something like building an entire action game, I would have to require more than years. More than 1 year. I would say the minimum of 2 to 3 years. just being able to write the client for Super Mario, for example. And this is where it might be a little subjective. And you can just copy code and get it done in one day. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about understanding certain principles, understanding how your memory works. If you can get even lower, that's even better. But I think it's okay to get down to a certain low enough point for you to understand how to build a video game. That alone takes years. So I'm not going to build a course that it's impossible for me to build a course that takes years for you to take, and at the end you'll be a professional game developer. That's just not realistic. And the guy said, what if you include all of your thought process into building a project? Well, my entire thought process, if you've seen one of my playlists, I have a C++ tutorial series. It's not the best form of delivery. It's not the best source that you find online. There's a lot of great C++ courses, but this example with 47 videos, I talk about pointers, really basic stuff about pointers and arrays and integers and floats and reference and data. So 47 videos is a lot less than 1% of the thought process that goes into building a 2.5D action platformer, for example. So if I wanted to include my entire process when I'm working on my projects, it would be hundreds and hundreds of videos, which I cannot make. So, and everybody's thought process is slightly different depending on what you do, depending on what you want. So what I want to say in the end, in a short sentence or two, is that if you want to be a game developer and you're just starting out, if you're looking for one source that's going to teach you everything, you're not going to find it. So I think that's my summary of my thoughts. And while I was saying it, I think loading is pretty much done. So let me get back to work. So luckily I have reverted back to a working state.
been chillin', watching the ocean with you. Baby up with a slow motion crew. And we up in our clouds when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. Cause you got me holding. And
blinded by the light ahead. Thought about just what you said. Connecting lives is what you planned. After all, let's take a chance. Turning dust into diamonds. Turning love into guidance. A second chance, let us commence. That's what I love. The life I see. Giving up, letting go. Times we might feel like unbound. Looking down from the heights that we have built all by ourselves. And there is fear of the unknown, but we cannot lose control when we feel like the world is against us. Do we go? Is a question to ask. There are so many choices that it's hard not to look past. What is real and what is fake, and the risk we have to take. Will we know what is throwing off our balance? We cannot sink into the dark. The vertigo is getting sharp. There's something bigger than ourselves. To now, I long that it could last.
chillin', watching the ocean with you. Baby up with a slow motion crew. And we up in our clouds when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. And I'll be running, possessed by a low, low voodoo. Fired up like a wolf on a full moon. And we're stuck in a la la land. The tides will turn without us. And I'll be killing time like I might be a cartoon. Take it in real life like haiku. I know we got the good vibes when pieces fall right into place. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. Play me like a bass guitar, simmer down and mess me up, tripping like I'm Jimmy at Woodstock. Drum me round in your red Ford, shivers down my spinal cord. Oh, 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 oh. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Burning bridges to the ground. So take away what's left of me. Blinded by the ones I lost, connecting lines of which we crossed, which we crossed. Dropped off the scene at sight, wishing to have one more fight left in me. The life I see
blinded by the light ahead. Thought about just what you said. Connecting lives is what you planned. After all, let's take a chance. Turning dust into diamonds. Turning love into guidance. A second chance, let us commence. That's what I love. The life I see. What's left in me? Take away what's left of burning bridges to the ground.
You are ruthless, yeah. You don't give a damn about what I do. You think you're the coolest. Who would ever wanna be like you? You left my heart in pain, yeah. You don't have to admit it now. You want me to stay, but I can barely use it now. You left my heart in pain. You want me to stay, but I can barely use it now. You left my heart in pain. You live a high life, limousines through your fantasies. You never knew it, but you were my lifeline. You got me drowning in the sea. You left my heart in pain.
Hello, Mr. Watermeal. Welcome to today's live stream. So for those who just got here, I'm working on an extractor for a certain prefab. I want to be able to include everything associated with a building, for example, to be residing all in one folder. Because usually when I buy a Unity asset, most of the files are scattered around in different folders with different names of folders in dozens of folders. That gets really annoying. I want to put them all into a single folder so I can extract just one piece of the asset, one small part of the asset that I want, and I want to exclude that away from everything else that I'm not using. Another thing, so there was this guy called Daniel. If you don't like the music, you can say so. I don't care. But if you're going to act like an asshole, I'm not going to waste my time with you. Anyways, what's left is, it looks like I'm able to get every mesh materials and textures, which make up a single 3D art asset. The only thing that I don't have right now is the actual FBX. I think that's the file type. So I get a mesh filter, which is part of the file. But how do I get the file itself? That is the question.
Giving up, letting go. Times we might feel compelled, looking down from the heights that we have built all by ourselves. And there is fear of the unknown, but we cannot lose control when we feel like the world is against do we go? Is a question to ask. There are so many choices that it's hard not to look past. What is real and what is fake? The risk we have to take. Will we know what is throwing off our balance? We cannot sink into the dark. The vertigo is getting sharp. There's something bigger than ourselves.
Okay, Mr. Watermill asks, so you're trying to conjoin smaller objects into one model? No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just organizing files, to simply put it. So when you download a Unity asset, usually from programmer's perspective, usually you end up moving around the files. I just don't want to do that manually anymore, because now that I'm gonna get into level design, I might have hundreds of different objects, and I'm not gonna organize all of them by hand. I'm just gonna have a button that organizes all the files for me. So that's the goal. Oh, and how you organize your files is completely up to you. So I'm just writing a little piece of code that organizes the files that I want in my own ways into whatever folders that I choose to have. So it's all custom stuff. Yeah, Mr. Watermeal says, gotcha, so you're making an editor utility. Yeah, exactly. It's one editor utility that I'm using. Mr. Watermeal says, funny, it's 10:26 p.m. for me, but it looks pretty early for you, so I always catch your stream at night. Yeah, it's really early for me. Well, not really early. It's already 12:27. Is that p.m.? Noon, basically. So, yeah, I live in a completely different time zone from most of my viewers. So it's most likely it's for most people that are watching it's already night for you. If I stream at night at my time, it would be like 2 a.m. for you, which probably wouldn't make any sense. Or actually, I might as well stream at night in my time. It doesn't even matter, I guess. For this time, right now, I just wake up and start coding, and I stream, hit the stream button. So I could do that. Usually, I might want to do it at 11-ish p.m. in my time. That would probably be morning for most of my viewers. So it's completely opposite, basically. We're literally on the other side. But then there's also people from places like India. That's only a few hours. Is it ahead or behind? Okay, so New Delhi is like 3 hours behind, which isn't that big. Unless you're talking about something like 3 a.m. in the morning. So yeah, so for me, the only viable time to stream is probably somewhere around noon during my time, or midnight during my time. I think both are fine. One is from your standpoint, whoever's watching. One is streaming at night. One is or one is watching at night. One is watching in the morning. Maybe I'll do both. Right now, I'm just doing one. I don't know. I might stream at both at a time. Yeah, Mr. Watermeal says, it really depends on who's watching. Gotta choose a target demographic, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you're a big YouTuber, your demographics definitely matter. But for someone like me, it's really hard to say. Because when I first started making videos, obviously I had no demographics, I had no target, I just uploaded. and then things kind of audience kind of started forming after, but none of them was intended. If I had, even if I had a specific target, there's no guarantee that I'm gonna be able to reach them. So and pretty much the only reason why I avoid streaming somewhere in the afternoon at my time is that most of the world is asleep at that time. The only countries that are similar to my time zone is China and Japan. But I don't speak Chinese and Japanese, so that's just completely out. So I might have times that I might exclude. But when I want to include certain time because I want to target certain audience, at that point I think it might be overthinking. Paralysis by analysis, maybe. I don't know. Like I have no idea how the YouTube algorithm works. So to me, I think what has worked for me is just doing what's comfortable for me, doing what works for me, doing what I like, coding stuff the way that I like, that would lead me to create games that I enjoy, and hopefully you'll enjoy too. So that's the only goal right here. I'm not trying to promote anything. I'm not even necessarily trying to market my own games. That sounds a little ironic. But mostly I'm going for stuff that I enjoy. So, and I'm also streaming at times that is most comfortable for me. And hopefully, you enjoy the same stuff that I do. Oh, and I think I have one last goal for today's stream, which is finding the FBX files that are in the dependencies. Find those files, and once I find those files, it's pretty much done. Moving certain files into a folder shouldn't be too hard. Mr. Watermill says, letting a target audience from naturally based on your schedule might be a good plan. Like I said, I don't speak Chinese or Japanese. I only speak Korean. And I don't want to reach out to Korean audience. There's way too much risk for me in that. I don't like to deal with all of the legal stuff that comes with speaking Korean and being a Korean person. People get jailed for stuff they say, stuff they imply, stuff they put out online. Pretty much anything that I put online can be used against me. Meaning there is no freedom of speech. Zero. None. If I make fun of a certain family member, I will be in jail. If I make fun of a certain politician, I will be in jail. If I make fun of a certain brand, I'll be in jail. If I criticize a certain policy, I'll be in jail. If I order food and I don't like it and I criticize that brand, potentially I could end up in jail. I mean, it's just, I don't want to deal with any of that shit. So I'm excluding that for sure. So Korean audience is out. Chinese audience is out. Japanese audience is out. That's pretty much my entire naturally based demographics. People that are within the same timeline, roughly the same timeline as me, or time zone. And then you have Indians. I've also had Russians coming in, people from Turkey, some people from Middle East. I don't think I've seen anybody from Africa. Other than my blog, I don't think I've seen Africans coming into my YouTube video. And then the biggest audience is from mostly North America or generally English-speaking countries. So, yeah, Mr. Watermeal says, I remember mentioned free speech issues on a few other streams. Sound crappy. Yeah, it is crappy. And what's even worse is that South Korea is relatively a free country. We have a lot more freedom than most countries, I would say. Most countries except America. I think, as far as I can tell, okay, USA and Taiwan. I've been to Taiwan, so I'm reasonably certain about this. Those are the only two countries that have more freedom than South Korea. For European countries, it's pretty close. It depends on specifics. You're certain to do certain things in Europe that might be illegal in South Korea, and vice versa. So it's more or less the same. I think most democratic countries fall under that category. You're free to do certain things, but not in certain other things. But speech is definitely not free here, which makes a lot of other things not free potentially, but I have my personal property. If I have land, it's mine. Of course, except recently, my own president wanting to take that away from me, which is crappy. But if you think about it, most countries are not that free. Like, I don't know much about other countries, but could you name a country where freedom of speech is kind of there? I don't know. Even in America, you don't really have freedom of speech. I mean, you get censored all the time. So I think America is pretty much the only place that sort of has freedom of speech. Sort of. It's pretty close. Other countries are kind of following. South Korea is slightly behind. So is Taiwan. But it's still way more free than a place like China or North Korea. Brazil has freedom of speech? Really? Yeah, the internet, yeah. I mean, I say this because seriously, you have freedom of speech written into the Constitution, which is great. As far as I can tell, USA is the only place that has that written into the Constitution. It's literally there. But today, most of the communications is done online. Well, I shouldn't say most, because you can still talk to your friends and family. But most of the communications, when it comes to large scale, it is mostly online. and pretty much Google, Facebook, Twitter. They're pretty much the gatekeepers as far as I can tell. At least in America is also the only place that I can think of where you're not going to get killed or jailed for speech. But then I might also be wrong here, because today, if you say something, certain groups are going to come after you. And this is not the same as having accountability. I think having accountability is a very different conversation versus do you have free speech at all? But what am I saying? I'm just rambling here. Whatever you say, whatever you hear regarding free speech from an indie game developer, obviously you should take it with a grain of salt. But again, going back to the topic, there is a clear reason why I don't reach out to the immediate people that might be close geographically. I also fear for my life. And if you've been following me, I like to, talk shit about things that I don't like. And if I say certain things about China and North Korea, if I say those things in my own language, in Korean, at that point I'm going to start fearing for my life. So, and I can't help myself talking shit about things that I don't like. Like if I see a person that says, I'm gonna download Unity and that's gonna allow me to build $1 million game overnight, like I can't help myself from making fun of that or saying something negative about that thing. Yeah, Mr. Watermeal says it's not the government, it's some certain groups that'll try and terminate you depending subject matter. Yeah, it's not the government, but here's my my question. I'm gonna push you a little bit on this. The US government obviously is not gonna directly do things that go completely against the Constitution, but you have certain large corporations or large groups with a lot of power that are in bed with the government. And there's a lot of fuckery going on there, as with any government. I think governments in general have way too much power, and they use that power to get resources and money from corporations or groups or whatever, and that affects normal people like me negatively in a huge way. Whether you're in America, whether you're in South Korea, whether you're in, can't think of any other countries, Taiwan. I mean it's just how humans have always been, isn't it? You have like today you have certain large corporations influencing government policies. They're not going to invade your home directly. Probably not, but you never know. But probably not realistically today. But they influence you in certain ways that you might not like. So in my country, I might talk about, I'd like to talk about those things, but I can't. I just choose to not talk about it because it gets, and politics is not my thing. I just want to call out people that I don't like, whether it's political or not. So I like to call out people that hate game development, but then they like the money in it, and they call themselves game developers. I don't like that, so I like to call them out. The only difference between me calling out the fake programmers, fake developers, versus me calling out certain politicians or certain groups or certain families in my country. One has nothing to do with my life, and the other one can potentially either put me in jail or could get me seriously hurt or negatively affect me or my family or the people around me. So that's the big difference. And secondly, I'm not spending that much time regarding politics. I'm spending most of my time working on my own game, and I just want to mind my own business. The problem comes when government or certain groups start intruding or start being invasive regarding the stuff that I want to do. That's pretty much the only time I'll talk about politics. What can I say? I mean, you can't completely detach yourself from these things. But anyways, in general, I think you can say whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be responsible, but I think people like to be free, no matter where you're from. And Ishniazov, hello, welcome to the live stream. Mr. Watermeal says it's all pretty scary. I don't like politics, but when it affects what I can and cannot say, taking my right to public opinions, yikes. Yeah. There's certain things that are off limits in game dev right now because of politics, and I don't like that. If you portray a certain group or certain country or certain topics negatively in any way, most likely you're gonna disappear from the internet. So whether you are actually interested in certain topics or whether you happen to piss off a certain group of people, there are topics that are off limits, and I don't like that. And that has got nothing to do with my political bias or whatever my thoughts are. And most likely, I think video games tend to be violent, just because that's how it has been for decades. And if you have a violent action game, most likely you're gonna piss off somebody. Ishniazov says I am from Russia. Welcome. Sorry if I completely butchered on your name pronunciation. But yeah, I'm still optimistic about things like freedom, things like decentralization. I think human beings overall have been moving towards decentralization more and more. So you used to have a few newspapers and a few radio stations that pretty much control the entire narrative of an entire country. Today you have, I don't know, there's so many networks and individuals that can post online, that can scale, that can reach out to millions of people. So essentially, pretty much everybody is a station. So it has been getting better, not as fast as I would like, but overall, over time, I think people just want more and more freedom. Is it Alexandre Beckham? I am from Brazil. I am trying to finish my first indie game. I made kind of copy from a game that now Konami owns, and I am making changes from there. Okay, so I'm just gonna call you Alexander. I don't know if that's the right thing, but or Alex. Yeah, I mean, you start from getting ideas from the games that you like. I got into game development because I really enjoyed Quake, I really enjoyed Half-Life, and all of the mods, things like Counter-Strike. You start, copying those things, copying ideas, and adding your own stuff to it. And thanks, Ish Niazov. We just said I like your tutorials 2D game. Mortal Kombat's violence spooked a few people. Try to cancel it. Yeah. And I don't have anything against Mortal Kombat. Yeah, there's a lot of blood and a lot of bones breaking and stuff. But nobody's forcing you to play it. Nobody's forcing you to watch those videos. So my thoughts on this is that if you don't like a game, you're not going to buy it, and that's a very different conversation compared to saying you shouldn't have a game like that. And the moment you try to cancel something because you don't like it, you're a Kim Jong-un basically. I guess I do that on my channels. I ban people if they're an asshole or an ask-hole, but I'm not a platform. That's my excuse. Alexander says, I saw recently that they're making a Castlevania fan game. I am watching how Konami will react with that. Okay. I'm guessing what you're referring to is Konami Japanese? A lot of those Japanese game studios tend to keep things hidden, closed source, and they like to sue people for copyright. A lot of the Asian companies are like that. I'm guessing that's what you're referring to. I also think you should have the freedom to build whatever fan game that you want. As long as you're not blatantly stealing something. But like I said last night or 2 days ago or what I've been saying constantly, there's a very thin line between stealing and adding value. So if I make an FPS game, am I stealing from John Carmack? Probably not. But if I take all the assets and all the textures and 3D models from Quake, call it a different name and start selling it, I think that's stealing. But then there's also everything in between. You might download a game, get some of the source files and change them slightly and turn it into your own game. That's pretty much modding. So there's modding, there's stealing, there's taking an idea and building something with it. Like there's so many different cases. Oops. What the? But again, my general idea is people, or in terms of game development, game developers should be free to do whatever the fuck they want. If they're going to make fun of China, let them do it. If they're going to make fun of America, let them do it. If they're going to make fun of Korea, North or South, they should be able to do so. And then whether you choose to download that game or not is up to you. And when somebody has a power to cancel someone else and completely wipe them clean from the internet, Maybe not completely, but being able to cancel somebody on a platform, I think that's too much power. Wherever political side you're on. And this is also the reason why I like things like blockchains and decentralized platforms, where there is no single admin that cannot deplatform you. Those ideas I like. Realistically, there isn't really a product that is decentralized enough for you to say whatever the fuck you want and build whatever games that you want. But I think it's coming.
You are ruthless. Yeah, you don't give a damn about what I do. You think you're the coolest. Who would ever wanna be like you? You left my heart in pain. Yeah, you don't have to admit it now. You want me to stay, but I can barely use
Reagan says a mix of a Rob Gazer song, Vertigo. I think it's on NCS. What is this playlist? There's a playlist link in the descriptions. I think I put it there. Where is it? Copyright free music. Yeah, I left the link there. And this is NCS. So yeah, so the list is called copyright free music for YouTube. It's got 585 songs. But I found that most of them sound very similar. Maybe I should go for something like NCS Felices. I'll try a different playlist next time. Kobe says, hey all from Oklahoma here. We're just hanging out watching RBG coding. Kind of like being in the office. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you are watching me code, but you can do whatever. I had no goal when I started this. I just happened to see one of those code with me videos. I just decided to do the same thing. Except the difference is I can't help myself talking to people that say stuff in the chat. So I'm in South Korea, by the way, which is why I have the sunlight right now. And it's probably really dark for you.
ocean crew, and we up in our growlings when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be
Mr. Watermeal, thanks for the super chat.
soon, I know she
I'm going to go to bed. Thanks for the stream. Good night, man.
the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs
Colby says, hey, Watermeal, 10 p.m. here. Are you running 2 PCs? Why the 2 mouses? Not a long time ago. When game engines were expensive, we made a game that used 2 mice for input. Oh, really? I have 2 PCs. One is for streaming, one is for me to do whatever. So that's the only reason why I have 2 mice. And this has always been confusing. Is it mice or mouses? Or for this device? I think mice works. But yeah, I have 2 PCs. Backbench says you did find a solution of particle on UI. Yep. It was a lot easier than I thought. What I talked about in that stream, so I was getting confused with NGUI solutions implemented in a very old version of Unity that I worked on long time ago. So yeah, my previous knowledge actually hindered me from getting a simple solution. So later I went back to just Googling, and it turns out that you have an option for you to have a camera that renders stuff on your UI, and it could be a cube, it could be some particle system. I have not tested that with the VFX graph, but even if you wanted to render some VFX graph or something from the VFX graph onto the UI, I'm reasonably certain that you can. Mouses. Yeah, it sounds weird. Anyways, I've been streaming for over 2 hours now. I think I'm gonna end it. So I couldn't find a solution here. I want to get the list of the FBX files, and that is something I've never done. I need a way to reference the FBX files in Unity code. I should do some Googling after this stream. So thanks guys for coming. I do plan on streaming every day, and there are certain people that reach out on Facebook or Discord or YouTube comments asking me about Gamedev, and a lot of those questions require detailed answers. So if you have any, if you were planning on asking any of those detailed questions regarding Gamedev, you're welcome to do so during my live stream. Backbench says, thanks for the solution. You're welcome. I was also curious about the UI and the render and all that stuff. So it was also good for me. So yeah, whether it's UI, VFX, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask during my live stream. What else? Yeah, I guess that's it. There isn't even a goal here for the live stream. I'm just working on my stuff, answering questions or talking to people. And a lot of times I guess it's 50-50. Sometimes it's about game dev, sometimes it's about other stuff. But I think it's pretty enjoyable. So thanks guys for coming. Have a great day or good night, depending on where you are.
blinded by the light ahead. Thought about just what you said. Connecting lives is what you planned. After all, let's take a chance. Turning dust into diamonds. Turning love into guidance.